Welcome back, everyone. I am Hari, and we are so glad you could join us today for a very special deep dive.
And I am Kimmy. Today we are focusing our attention on the absolute pinnacle of figure skating, the 2025 World Figure Skating Championships, which took place from March 26th to the 30th at the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts.
Before we get into the incredible technical achievements and historic medals, we have to acknowledge the very heavy, somber atmosphere that surrounded this year's event. The championships were held less than 2 months after a devastating local tragedy.
That is right, Hari. The skating world was still reeling from the 2025 Potomac River mid-air collision. American Airlines Flight 5342 went down, tragically taking the lives of multiple junior skaters and coaches from the Skating Club of Boston.
It cast a profound shadow over the TD Garden. The International Skating Union, or ISU, held a beautiful ceremony right at the start of the competition to honor the victims and their families. Governor Maura Healey and Mayor Michelle Wu were both in attendance.
ISU President Jae-Yul Kim delivered a remarkably poignant speech. He noted, "Someone once told me time is a great healer, but for those who have experienced deep loss, we know that time does not simply erase pain. For many of us, it feels like we are frozen in time."
That sense of being frozen in time really resonated throughout the week. But the athletes also found a way to channel their grief into breathtaking performances honoring those they lost on the ice. Nowhere was this more evident than in the men's singles event.
Absolutely. Defending world champion Ilia Malinin of the United States came into the competition heavily favored. He had not lost a single event all season, but he was carrying a heavy personal burden as he had lost friends and training partners in that Potomac crash.
Malinin said he wanted to deliver a performance that everyone could be proud of, and he delivered a masterclass. His short program was the highest scoring of his career, featuring a quadruple flip and a quad Lutz triple toe loop combination.
He even mentioned he was uncharacteristically nervous beforehand, but once the music started, he hit a flow state. And his free skate? It was out of this world. He landed all 6 jumps as quadruples: toe loop, salcho, loop, flip, Lutz, and Axel.
Plus, he executed his signature aerial twist, famously nicknamed the Raspberry Twist. But the most stunning visual might have been the backflip. The ISU actually overturned the ban on backflips in competition back in 2024. Yes! Adam Xiaohim-Fa of France was technically the first to perform a legal backflip at the World Championships since 1976, but Malinin followed up with one of his own during his free skate. Malinin ended up winning by a massive 31.09-point margin, the second largest in the discipline's history.
His dominance was so pronounced that the bronze medalist Yuma Kageyama of Japan openly called Malinin invincible. Kageyama had a tough season experimenting with new technical content. He fell on a quad salchow in his free skate, but still managed to reach the podium.
We cannot overlook the silver medalist Mikhail Shidorov. He captured Kazakhstan's first men's medal since the late Denis Ten in 2015. Shidorov was 15 points behind Malinin after the short program, but a personal best free skate with 4 quads vaulted him to second place. Shidorov even said that if someone had told him at the start of the season he would be on the world podium, he would not have believed it. Meanwhile, Xiaohim-Fa struggled. He had been dealing with a persistent ankle injury all season, which caused him to simplify his technical content, eventually finishing out of the medals.
While the men's event had a clear favorite, the women's singles event was wide open. Defending 3-time world champion Kaori Sakamoto of Japan had been struggling with an adjustment in program difficulty and admitted she was unsure if her stamina was up to par. The pressure on the Japanese women was intense, considering 5 of the 6 qualifiers for the Grand Prix final were from Japan. But the real story of the women's event was the unbelievable comeback of the United States' Alysa Liu.
It is the ultimate Cinderella story. Liu had taken a 2-year hiatus from competitive skating. She returned this season, mentioning how hard it was, but that she could finally move through it with enjoyment. And that joy translated directly to the ice. She set a new personal best in the short program and then brought the house down with a free skate to Donna Summer's MacArthur Park. The crowd gave her a standing ovation. When her scores appeared, a visibly shocked Liu exclaimed, "What the hell?" on global television. She truly could not believe it, saying later, "I do not know how I came back to be world champion." She became the first American woman to win the title since Kimi Meisner in 2006.
Kaori Sakamoto took the silver after a combination jump mistake in the short program and an under-rotation call in the free skate. But her sportsmanship was incredible. She praised Liu's cheerfulness and kindness, saying she was just happy to see her competing again.
Monet Chiba of Japan won the bronze medal with a fantastic disco-themed short program. For the Americans, Isabeau Levito finished fourth despite coming off a severe foot injury that kept her off the ice for 3 months. Amber Glenn, who was undefeated all season, finished fifth after a tough fall on her triple axel in the short program.
Moving to the pairs event, the margins were so incredibly tight. Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kahara of Japan won their second world championship title, but they did it by a razor-thin margin of just 0.71 points.
Some sources suggest that is the second narrowest margin in the history of the pairs event, right behind Savchenko and Sulkogi in 2012, though that specifically refers to World Championships history and not the entire discipline. Miura and Pihara stumbled on a side-by-side jump sequence in the free skate, but their short program lead was barely enough to hold off the Germans.
The German duo Minerva Fabienne Haas and Nikita Volodin took silver with the highest scoring free skate of the event. They were kicking themselves a bit for holding back in the short program, but they truly left everything out on the ice.
Sara Conti and Niccolò Macchi of Italy bounced back from a difficult season to take the bronze. Meanwhile, the defending champions from Canada, Diana Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps, finished in fifth.
Stellato-Dudek had an interesting perspective. She said being the returning champion was exhausting because of the constant expectations, adding, "I think I am better at the chase because I love it." She also recently obtained Canadian citizenship, which clears the way for them to compete at the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan.
Those upcoming Milan Olympics added immense pressure to this event, as it determined the entry quotas for each federation, and the stakes were incredibly high in the ice dance discipline.
They certainly were. Madison Chock and Evan Bates of the United States made history on home ice. They won their third consecutive world title. They are the first ice dance team to achieve a three-peat since Oksana Grishuk and Evgeny Platov of Russia did it in 1996.
Chock mentioned that their rhythm dance was the most fun competitive routine she had ever had. Their jazz-themed free dance was almost flawless, with their only deduction coming during choreographic twizzles. They beat out the Canadian silver medalists, Piper Gilles and Paul Poirier.
Gilles and Poirier had a rocky season, but won the Four Continents Championships right before this. Gilles noted that they skated with their hearts and viewed the silver as a stepping stone for the Olympics. But Kimmy, we have to talk about the bronze medalists.
Yes, Lila Fear and Lewis Gibson brought Great Britain back to the World Championship podium for the first time since 1984. It is an amazing achievement. They held on to their lead from the rhythm dance despite a slightly nervy free dance.
They had received public support from British ice dance legends Jane Torville and Christopher Dean. Gibson said being compared to them is a huge honor, and he hopes their medal inspires little kids in Great Britain to put their skates on.
We should also note the fourth-place finishers, Charlene Guignard and Marco Fabri of Italy. They had arguably the most polarizing free dance of the season, portraying robots. Guignard felt the crowd's lack of enthusiasm might have affected their scores, but Fabri defended their creative risk.
I respect the bold choices. The judging this season was rigorous. They used a grade of execution, or GOE scale, from -5 to 5, calculating a trimmed mean and adding it to predetermined base values for technical elements.
The technical requirements were strict. The short programs could only last 2 minutes and 40 seconds, with very specific jump, spin, and step sequence mandates. The free skates allowed 4 minutes, but required 7 jump elements for singles and intricate lift combinations for pairs.
And for ice dance, the rhythm dance theme this season was social dances and styles of the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. It was so fun seeing elements of rock and roll, the jitterbug, and disco woven into world-class skating routines.
It was a championship of contrasts. Deep sorrow from the Boston community paired with the euphoric highs of athletic triumph. From Alysa Liu's stunning return to Malinin's gravity-defying quads, it was an unforgettable week.
It truly was, and it beautifully sets the stage for the 2026 Winter Olympics. Thank you all so much for joining us on this emotional and exciting journey through the 2025 World Figure Skating Championships. We wish you a wonderful week ahead.
Take care, everyone. Keep skating through life.
This episode is based on the Wikipedia article 2025 World Figure Skating Championships, which is available under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike license. This podcast was crafted using artificial intelligence.